New at 4, Caldwell police are looking for 3 people they say used a stolen credit card. So take a close look. This is surveillance footage. Crime Stoppers says the credit card was used at a Nampa business the same day it was reported missing. Now these 3 left the store in a silver 4-door vehicle with a sunroof.
And a Middleton officer is okay after a driver slammed into his police cruiser while he was pulled over on the side of the road. You can see the damage in this picture. The driver of the car was also unhurt. Middleton officers urge people to remember to move over when they see an officer working on the side of a road.
In breaking news, at least a dozen people are dead after a bus carrying tourists in Mexico flipped on a highway. More than a dozen are also injured, including 7 Americans. No word on if any of the killed are U.S. citizens. Now that bus was carrying Royal Caribbean cruise ship passengers to the Mayan ruins.
We are learning more this afternoon about the deadly Amtrak train crash near Seattle. Today, 2 of the 3 victims have been identified. One was a Pierce Transit employee, the other a member of the Rail Passengers Association. Dozens are still recovering from their injuries, and today reports surfaced that the train was going 50 miles over the speed limit for that section of track. And now investigators are trying to piece together the moments prior to the crash. Chris Martinez shows us.
An oversized load truck hauled away one of 13 mangled train cars that flew off the tracks in Washington state. Crews still have to remove the locomotive.
It weighs over 270,000 pounds. It is extremely heavy. It is going to take quite a feat to get that out of there.
The NTSB says speed may have been a factor in yesterday's deadly derailment. The event data recorder shows the train was traveling at 80 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. At least 3 people were killed and dozens were injured on the maiden voyage of this newly opened train line. The Associated Press is reporting investigators are looking into whether the engineer was distracted by an employee in training in the locomotive cab. According to radio chatter, the engineer was bleeding from his head after the wreck, and both eyes were swollen shut.
The NTSB says it's been recommending safety features like automatic braking, known as positive train control, for decades.
It certainly does prevent accidents that are overspeed accidents that cause derailments.
The former NTSB chair says there's one simple reason the technology isn't in use everywhere.
It's because of the dollars that need to be spent that's delayed its implementation.
This 15-mile stretch of track in Washington was a $180 million project aimed at speeding up service by bypassing a more curvy route with single-track tunnels and freight traffic. Chris Martinez, CBS News, DuPont, Washington.
Amtrak says new technology aimed to prevent derailments was installed on the train and the tracks, but is not due to be activated until next year. Positive train control equipment limits unsafe train movements to prevent train-to-train collisions and derailments. But the Oregon Rail Association says it's not widely in use in the Pacific Northwest. The devices were mandated by Congress back in 2008 and required on railroads to be implemented by 2015. But that deadline has been twice delayed. It's now pushed back to next year, 2018.